Very illustrative game played in between Alexander Alekhine, the famous world chess champion in the 20s and 30s, and the Peter Potemkin. They played it in St. Petersburg in 1912. And it's illustrative in the sense that it proves yet again that we shouldn't be playing twice the same piece in the opening. We shouldn't be getting the knights on the rim. And that's just very indicative. So let's just play e4. Alexander Alekhine, if I didn't say, he plays with the black pieces here. This is a Sicilian, not a problem. And the g3. Now, this is 1912, mind you, guys. Nowadays, you won't be finding at the highest levels of chess super grandmasters to do g3 very often against the c5. So this is the fianchetto Lasker Dunn variation. It is called g3. And g6 played by black, not a problem. Again, this is very much balanced and equal. Bishop to g7, following the developing ideas. Nothing wrong with knight e2 either. Perfectly fine. Knight c6, getting pieces out as quickly as we can. This is the secret. c3 now, always with the intention to go d4. So when a c3 happening, that's going to be the battle for the center for sure. Knight f6, again, developing. They can't frustrate because the knight will just take straight away. So very nicely, further developing, ready to secure castling the king. Now, this is the moment, the first idea in chess in this game here. Knight a3, get the knight on the rim. Not a very, very, very good idea. This also happening in the Mangarini variation with white. But that one is a very particular opening we had discussed in the past, and we could look into that again. So knight a3, it's being employed in this position by Potemkin. Of course, they wanted to readjust, to relocate the knight over to c2, and then further pressure on the d4. But it's not a very wise one, being recommended straight away d4. Now go for the center, don't delay it. So knight a3 being played, d5 by black, challenging the center. ed, and knight takes d5 now. Perfectly fine. Again, not a problem, very balanced. Knight to c2, wasting another tempo. So it's worth mentioning that when you do this kind of peripheral moves with the knight, and then you have to take him back into the game, you will be wasting another tempo. Castling, securing the king by Alekhine, and d4 now, direct challenging the center. Black takes, and before we go with the move that actually white played here, you probably guys noticed previously there was a red arrow, which indicates that the best stuff for white is to consider either of the two knights taken on d4. And the reason for knight on e to take on d4 rather than the knight on c is that if you don't take with this guy and take with the knight on c, you will be placed in a pin after bishop to g4. So for this reason, the theory recommends here for white to take with knight e to d4. And then again, it is very, very much balanced and equal. You can't play bishop g4 because you're going to lose the bishop, of course. But that's not what happened in the game. White played c takes d. Already not a great stuff happening. Bishop g4 by Alekhine here, pinning the knight on e2. So that guy is pinned. It's not looking very good for white because a move like f3, specifically after the move like f3 now, you're weakening all the dark squares. And more recommended is something like h3. Maybe that one better, and then castling. But f3 definitely weakens the king side furthermore for white. Bishop retreats on f5 now. Knight plays on e3. With the intention to trade off pieces to attack the bishop on f5, but Alekhine goes with the attacking ideas. He doesn't trade, not just yet. He goes with queen to a5. That checks the white king. And Peter Potemkin here chooses to play king to f2, which is a sort of a compensation for not castling, connecting the rook, connecting the queen, but there's already a worsening, a severe worsening of the position here. Knight d to b5, the best move here. Notice the light square diagonal of that bishop together with the knight. That's multiple threats here, the bishop already and the knight already, and those are very, very uncomfortable for black. Notice that the bishop is defended not just by the pawn. Also, it's worth understanding this, but also there is the queen on the 5th rank. So we mustn't take with a pawn because we're doing a very bad pawn structure there, but a queen takes. And then again, we've got the queen and we've got the knight together, and we've got the bishop attacking d4 together with the black knight. There might be rooks coming into game, so already more optimistic having the black pieces rather than the white pieces here. And the king is not where they should be. Absolutely not okay. G4. G4 makes it even worse for white, as we will see very soon, my dear friends. Yeah, you could go with defensive stuff. You could play defensive like queen to b5. You may think that, okay, let me just get that queen to somewhere safe, right? I mean, I don't want to lose my queen. But now this is the genius, this is the tacticality, the skills of Alexander Alekhine, and he now comes with knight B to d3, checking the king with tempo. Of course, the king is being checked. White plays king to g3. It's worth mentioning that the f2 and the f4 can't be used by the white king because there is a black knight here. Cutting off any retreats onto those two black squares. The queen now being hit again, we would say normally, probably very many of us would now going into panicking mode, going for the b5 ideas and such, because you don't want to lose the queen. But if we deepen the position maybe for a bit longer, we should be able to coming up with the idea that actually the black queen can be sacrificed, because if white gets a little bit greedy and grabs the queen, then the checkmate is coming. Remember, guys, we said that. So knight c takes on d4, fair enough. And if white takes, which they did take, now let's just highlight again the f2 and the f4, which are being taken now. And so the king can't retreat. So we're going to lure the king. We're going to get the king closer to also being attacked by the black pawns. Knight f5. This one is covered. This one is covered. The only squares which are not covered is the h3 and g4, because h4 also taken by the black knight on f5. So covered, covered, and covered. 2 white squares available for the white king. Needless to say, it doesn't matter where the king goes now. Of course, if the king were to be moving on h3, we're going to do knight f2 straight away with a checkmate. But they played on g4. That's not going to help them at all, because they're going to be forcefully pushed onto h3, h5, attacking the king. King goes to h3. And now, guys, we've got the checkmate. Checkmate coming, fork, knight f2. Of course, we're not interested in the queen now, because more important is to actually fatally, lethally attacking. And that is the checkmate that happens right here. Knight f2 checks the king, which can't go anywhere. Spectacular. Fabulous tactics played by Alekhine, and what a moment, what an intense moment to deliberately sacking the queen. This game played in 1912 St. Petersburg, and phenomenal for a world chess champion, and great delight for us chess enthusiasts out there.